The second punch of our four-punch, fundamentally core valued combination is the straight right. We're going to take into account now that you possess some level of understanding of the jab. We're going to build upon that by adding that straight right, which, as I suggested in closing on the bag with the jab, loads itself naturally after an effectively thrown jab has taken place. So not to spend too much time, but in our fighter stance, which changes not whatsoever to add additional punches, I will have thrown the left jab. Here I am. Throw that as I've been taught. At this point, more so than was the case seconds ago, my right hip, this portion of my body, is open, as we term it. This right hand in defense should be tucked by my chin. All I'm going to do now is close that hip. I'm going to bring it through, much as I did with the left hip in throwing the jab. I'm not going to take a full step as I did, or even a slight step as I did with the jab. Reason being is I'm an orthodox fighter. I'm a conventional fighter, which means I always will have my left lead because my power is on the right side. So if I step through the way I did with my jab, one of two things is going to happen. At the very least, I'm going to be squared. If not, I'll step and all of a sudden I'm in now what's called a southpaw stance, where I become a left-handed fighter. And that's far more advanced than we're going to explore at this time. So instead of a step, to keep our cadence in function, we're going to tap down, if you watch my right toe, strictly with a slight pivot and tap. In motion, the way this will work is I will throw, and I'm going to ask that you throw the jab first, at least more so than not, to get the hang of the right punch to follow, the straight right, on account of the fact that the jab sets it so nicely. And there won't be as many times early on where you'll throw a two or a straight right by itself without a jab lead. This is called on its own a lead right, which of all people Muhammad Ali made popular, but again, higher skill level and not where we are at this time. So I throw my left jab, and now, exactly as I did that straight left jab, I'm going to throw as though my right fist is attached to my chin by a string. I'm going to extend this hand, unclenched, clenching a point of impact. I'm going to allow the right shoulder, as I roll my right fist, to graze the right side of my face, and I'm going to lift that leg just slightly and tap down. You can see that it has to be no less fluid than the jab was in how I deliver it or throw it. Tendencies that'll come. This is your power. This is where you are stronger. So you're going to have a tendency after throwing that nice jab, you're going to want to remove this, if you will, from the side of your face. You're going to want to extend out before forward, and you're going to want to wing it. We don't want to do that for a couple reasons. One, again, undue duress or trauma to the shoulder. It's going to lag or lapse time unnecessarily. Those are valuable seconds that will be taken from landing that punch. And our direct line or course on that straight right is what makes it effective. The minute you take it away from your chin, you're moving out of sync with your hip. So that's why it's so important that it's actually thrown not far differently from the jab. The other point I want you to recognize is when I throw my jab, as I'm throwing the straight right, closing the hip and all the other pieces, the jab, the left hand returns and tucks back into place as a point of defense, and also to position itself for the third punch in our series, that left hook, to which we will get next. So, slow, slow. If you watch without the punch, I would do no differently from the waist down. And that seems bizarre to throw a punch, without the hands. But left jab, if you can see the roll of the hips, that's from where the power of these punches is originated. The reason why the straight right is stronger and a harder punch, one, it's coming from your power side, but I turn that hip over more forcefully than I could even naturally with the left. If you watch the way I throw the left jab, that hip's almost already in turning progress based on my stance. The step itself is really all the more there is in terms of power. Now this right hip is so much more opened by that motion, though, that when I turn it over, boom, just that creates far more power for that punch. Last time. And we'll move to the bag. Check.